Well, kids, I'm Sean, Adam, JV, Shadow of Everest. This is Rimshots with Sean, brought to you by Barstools and Bandtalk. So just before at the end of our last segment, we were talking about how humbling recording can be. And there's legendary stories, JV, earlier you mentioned Zeppelin. I mean, there's some legendary stories about, as a drummer, I find it fascinating that Bonham struggled in the studio because of the way they wrote and him trying to, Stairway to Heaven, he couldn't figure out how to get into that.
Yeah.
And you hear it now and it's just like, I don't understand why, but people who've recorded get it, right? It's especially when you're paying money to record and you sit there and in your mind, you're going, okay, hour one, this much, hour two, you know what I mean?
And I know it's me. I know I'm the one sitting there just watching the ticker go. I'm watching the dollar signs stack up when we're fumbling with cables or somebody's trying to learn a part or tune a guitar or something like that. And guitar players are the worst for it because, well, like we said earlier, that's when we find out who doesn't know a riff. Well, this is the way I've been playing it the whole time. But that's the difference between that live scenario and like looking back and forth at your buddies and really being in that moment, enjoying yourself, as opposed to, being under the microscope and you get to hear this stuff back completely isolated in a very naked and raw context. And it is very exposing. And you learn what kind of musician you are in that kind of environment. And frankly, it's fun. I really like that. It helps me grow as a musician and as a person. And, the group of guys that I do it with wouldn't rather do it with anyone else.
It is fun. And, there's a legendary story about Skid Row goes in to do their second album, and they were doing it with Michael Wagner, and who's produced the Scorpions and folks like that. And so Rob Affuso, the drummer, went in and he laid everything down to scratch tracks. He got all his drums done. And then the guitar player comes in and said, "You're like the worst drummer in the world. That sounds like," because raw drums, and you will know this, Adam, raw drums sometimes sound all kinds of wonky till the brightness and all that stuff comes. And you're sitting there going like, I thought I was good. What the heck is going on here? Right? Like something sounds draggy or whatever. It all comes together in the end. You just got to keep, mindful of that when you're recording.
Yeah. You can't, I find you can't get too hard on yourself, like pre-post, if you will, right? Like as soon as everything's coming right off the floor and you're listening back, I found is easier to just focus on, okay, timing, just make sure my time is on, make sure I'm not dragging anywhere, and make sure my kicks and snare hits are nice and powerful and nice and clean, so I'm not having to spruce them up. But when you say humbling, like when we went to the studio for Giants Die, that was my real first professional studio setting. Wasn't my first time playing to a click or anything like that, but was my first real pressure cooker type. Okay, boys, we're on the clock, big money, let's get this done, and we've got a lot of work to do. So it was I had a blast with that. We had 25 mics on my kit, and it sounded incredible, and I had a great producer, and I can't wait to do it again. Honestly, we're writing right now, and I cannot wait to get back in there. But
no, that's awesome. And just we'll one last piece on this, but it's funny because I play to a click live and use some tracks and sometimes, and if something is too fast, it's always the drummer's fault. And I don't know how many times that I sit there and go, but the guitar player started that. I counted it in. And a lot of people also don't realize, and you notice it when you do play with a click track, and again, we're geeking out here, but you get to find out who's actually pushing and pulling, and it's not always the drummer. Oftentimes it's, the drummer's a very minute part of that equation.
Yeah. Well, we live and breathe rhythm. So, I mean, as a drummer, it's, I can usually pull it out. JV's smiling too, because I know he knows. He'd be like, I'm like, speed up, man. Like, what are you doing? Or slow that down. What do you like? And I'll always, I'm like that. If we start playing a song and jam and it's not, I'll shut it right down. I just stop. I'm like, no, what are you doing? Let's go. Start it over.
Yeah.
Well, having it clicked, it's kind of an advantage for that, because you can really get to see, like, okay, am I the problem? Is it me?
Yeah. And usually when you play in a click, you find you're never the problem. It's usually the bass player. That's been my experience anyway.
We're very lucky in this band. Yeah, we're very lucky in this band that I think I was talking to Sean yesterday. We were hanging out and I said, "Man, you made 2 mistakes the entire career I've known you." So I would never point the finger at Sean.
I couldn't point it at Sean either. If anything, Sean's the glue all the time. Like, it's never.
And you need those guys. So JV, where did you record that album, JV? To me it sounds very very tight. Sounds very polished. Where did you do that?
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was all tracked at the Sonic Temple recording studio in Halifax, and we benefited from just having a monster of an engineer, Darren Van Neerkerk. We walked in, he's wearing an Opeth shirt, and we just said, yeah, this is the guy. Like, he's going to get it. He knows our style, and we did a pretty excessive amount of pre-production too. I mean, as a band, we were recording ourselves and just listening back at these, just one mic in the room kind of thing, just to hear if the parts make sense, and to give it a listen outside of having the instrument in your hand, so that your attention's not taken away by what you're doing in the immediate moment. So there was a lot of attention to detail in pre-production, where you'd want a dub, where you'd want a vocal harmony, or where the tempos should change, and we had all that mapped out beforehand. So that was a saving grace in terms of time, because it gave us a lot more focus on the actual recording process, rather you're not sitting there trying to figure out, oh no, is this 144 BPM or does it sound better 146? We, for the most part, I think with two exceptions, Adam, we had all that figured out. We just tell Darren, like, here's the click for this many bars, then it switches to this tempo, then it switches to this one. And I honestly think there was maybe two songs that we had to make some adjustments on the fly.
Yeah. And again, it sounds to me like what you're doing there is very key, especially, if you're paying for it yourself. If you're not, the days of the record companies giving you huge advances to go in and record are gone. I mean, it doesn't happen anymore. And, you can get grants, you can get different things. But that being said, if it's a grant money, or if it's coming out of your own genes, to fiddle and fart around when you could have prepared ahead of time just makes zero sense to me.
Yeah.
Your statement, Adam?
Yeah, it was. I think that's part of our. I think that's one of our trade secrets. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe a lot of people do it, but maybe not to the extent. Like we record when we get into writing mode, and we're heavy into writing mode now. We get into this habit of just pulling our phones out, or like setting up our room mic and recording it back, cutting it, and then listening to it. And that's virtually how I wrote that entire album. Was me just setting up my phone up above my kit. And I would go back and listen to it on the drive home, or listen to it on the drive to work. Yep. And just get to pick like a buffet of 20 different times I played the same song, but I would let my mind go when I play it now in the practice space and just see what kind of comes. And then I picked all the best parts out of it that I liked and scrapped the rest, and then put it all together. And by the time we got to the studio, it was, I don't know. I think I did quite a few tracks. We all did quite a few tracks in one take. Like, just boom, right through.
And when you guys tracked that, were you doing it like in a live off the floor scenario, or did you do so you basically stacked everything and
yeah, like when I did my drums, we did I had the guys with me, and you had the energy of jamming together, but all the guitar takes were done separately, but my drums were the only thing taken at the time. Yeah. So we all had the energy of vibing and playing the songs real time together, but we didn't do everything live off the floor. We went back and individually took everything.
I personally love recording that way. I find that it does keep your timing in check, right? Because it's like the track's not gonna speed up if you do. It's gonna stay right there, and so get your collective crap together, or get off the pot, right? So last question about that album. So you put it out when?
May 17th, I think, of last year. Yeah, May 17th, 2022.
What type of traction did you guys get on it? Because I know it was a weird time. I mean, yeah. I talked to an awful lot of people who put stuff out, and it was almost like they put it out to get it out, but they didn't really do anything with it. And it's a shame, because there was a lot of stuff that kind of stagnated and didn't go anywhere. What did you guys do with it? What was your cycle with it?
Well, it's like you said, it was a weird time to put stuff out, because everybody was putting stuff out, and so everyone was overloaded with like requests to put this on my playlist or get me into the studio to talk about it, and it was overwhelming. So I mean, from a receptive standpoint, like from our listeners and any critics that we managed to get it in front of, it was super well received. I mean, the Spotify numbers have been awesome. Best out of our catalog, which is good. Moving forward, it's good to grow. But it's been a challenge to to get it into people's hands. And I think it's because everybody was waiting. You know, that's all we had to do. No one was playing live. Everyone was sitting in their studios recording stuff, and all kinds of music got released all at the same time. And our brand of music is, it's eclectic, and it's a listener's, it's a real, you got to be a fan of it. It doesn't just make it to the radio. It's not a very, I don't want to say it's not palatable, but it's not, it's not the common.
No, I get where you're going. That it's like you're either a
selective
fan or you're not, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So I think.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I think that sometimes that doesn't play to our favor necessarily, but we are good at what we do, and your experience at Riverfest last year when we managed to get somebody in front of us at a live show. That's where we hooked them.
Well, and I'll get back to that in a second, but it's funny that you mentioned all that because I mean, this podcast was started out of everything's shut down 4 weeks. I'm going to be back at it. Here I am. I'll be 3 years in April, and I see this story on the CBC last night. Musicians gaining fan base through live streaming, and my post today was like, "Oh, big scoop by CBC." Like this has been going on for a while, and the story to me, quite frankly, pissed me off because it was like, "Thank you for covering it," but guess what? Well, you guys were kind of dumping on music and keeping everybody away. This is what these guys were doing and these girls were doing to exist, right? Like if you were taking advantage of technology and you weren't getting better at what you did, everything opens up. You're behind the 8 ball, man, and it's all your fault and only your fault. The story to me was bizarre. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but it sounds to me like that's what you guys did. Adam, is that a fair statement?
Yeah. I mean, we just spent a lot of time just trying to focus. Like we were very focused, but when we had the record was ready, we were ready to release it and we were ready to put it out there. And we, regardless of what was going on, we wanted to push the music out. We had I joined the band. JV, what was it pre-COVID?
Yeah, not much. Not
much.
very
2
long,
months,
yeah.
Maybe 2 months before, give or take. And this was a COVID record. 100%. That's honestly one of the reasons it's as polished as it was when we went to the studio, because we kind of were forced to wait a little longer than we had to. But
well, I mean, here's the thing, and I kind of alluded to it, but I mean, yes, it sucked. Everything was shut down, but you had two choices, right? You could either sit there and whine and cry about it, or you could get work done in a different way. And the people that got the work done in a different way, and we were saying this 2-3 months into that stupid thing, the people that chose to do it a different way, they're the ones that are doing stuff now. Like it's this cycle that the momentum is on an uptick. It's not anybody that's whining about their lot in life didn't do the work when they had the chance, when they were stuck in their houses, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. And those folks might still be making excuses, as to why their record didn't get out or why they don't have shows or whatever the case might be. It's got nothing to do with whether or not anything was shut down. That's just it's a lifestyle. It's a personality type.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, it's things don't go your way. There's always somebody to blame or something to blame. And look, I get frustrated sometimes, man. You're sitting there and you're going like, you do a really cool interview like we're doing now, and it might get 1,500 to 2,000 hits, and then some guy finds a potato chip that looks like Abraham Lincoln and it gets 2 million views, and it's just the whole thing is weird. But I think what it boils down to is, I've said this before. You got to do some. People, they don't do a lot for themselves. They look for other people to entertain them. So you got to entertain them, or you're not going to catch them.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right. So you know what? We're a popular podcast. I like to think we're an important podcast, but we're not a big budget podcast. I'm down to about 7 minutes left on the old Zoomer here. What do you guys have on the go? What's coming up next, Adam? What you got some shows coming up? Are you working on new material?
Look, he made me talk about the shows, JV, like I got the schedule down pat. No, we've actually I'll talk a bit about it and I'll let JV give the specifics, but I'm really excited about this year because, I mean, we had a great year last year. We broke out of the COVID thing. We got to promote our new record, promote the new lineup. Came out of winter this year. We played our first show at Gus's in Halifax just at the mid-February, just to kind of shake the dust off from the winter. And we had a fantastic turn. It was actually the night of that cold snap that we had where it dropped like -50. It was the night before that happened. So, but we actually had a great turnout, great time. So we've got a lot of shows, a lot of festivals already lined up this year. We're going to be pretty busy. JV, you can kind of touch on it because I never remember the dates anymore.
Yeah, and well, that's the thing. They're always coming in, and we're always looking for more. We're playing in St. John in April. April 29th, we'll be in St. John. And then we are in PEI, actually, on June 24th. And we're going to try to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of our album with a bit of a big show here in the city. I can't talk too many details on it yet because we're just getting things signed now. But watch our calendar and our Facebook and stuff for June. There'll be a really cool show happening with the coordinated effort of a bunch of people around here. And like Adam said, the festival circuit there, August, we've got Riverfest. Of course, we're performing there again, and we're performing at Merciless Metal Fest out in Hants County. That's August 25th and 26th, I think, or the 24th and 25th. I don't have a calendar.
26th, that's right.
Yeah. And then another one in Pictou. It's called Mike Fest, and this is his 6th-year anniversary having that. It's on the Music Mountain grounds there. So he's not affiliated with it, but he can make use of the space. So he appreciates heavier, more technical music, and so he has his own little shindig, and we're playing that. That's September 2nd.
Right on. Well, so I tell you, boys, and we're going to stay in touch. There's some stuff going on with the people that I work with that they're revamping. So, Rome wasn't built in a day, but there's some stuff on the go. And, I got to know you guys a little bit. I got to know Mitch from Dogs of Sun, and I'm starting to figure out what it is makes your kind of scene tick. I've been out of that scene for quite some time. But I'll make a statement. Correct me if I'm wrong. The ones that get along, work well together, and support each other, and help each other on shows and do shows together. And the ones that don't get along kind of go off on their own merry way, and people just kind of stay away from them. Is that a fair statement?
100%.
100%.
And more people need to get the sticking together works a lot better. I mean, this whole thing about you're going to get more popular than me. It's total nonsense, right? Because everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. It's frustrating for me sometimes when it doesn't happen at my pace, but everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. So it sounds like you guys are going to have some good stuff this year.
Yeah, I think so, man.
Yeah, believe in it. That's for sure.
Well, gentlemen, keep me posted. I want to see what you're up to next. And thanks a lot for doing this.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thanks a lot for having us, Sean. Really appreciate it, brother.
All right, guys.
Cheers.